Welcome, welcome, welcome. I do not have my phone down here with me to see whether things are going live. So I am starting to see you trickling in though. So hello, welcome. Come on in. Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Heather. Most people call me Nookie. I live an amazing life. I'm lucky enough to spend my time writing books, teaching workshops and classes like this about love, sex, romance, and of course, kink for people of all genders, relationship statuses, orientations, and more. I've always been curious and adventurous when it comes to sex and human sexuality and engaging with each other physically. And luckily, I've had partners who've been the same. So I've explored many facets of sexuality and love in creative and fantastic ways. And every single one of my experiences thus far have led me to the belief that boundaries are the key to not only saving ourselves, but our relationships. They are what take us from getting by or merely average to healthy, loving, strong, and fan-fucking-tastic. So let's get started. I'm going to kick us off, as usual, with an introduction to my book and how I'm writing it. So I'm writing a book about boundaries with the working title, Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck, right now. And you can get access to the chapters as I write them by signing up for registering for my Take No Shit workshop, which is ongoing right now. That link right there on the screen is a great way to get in there and join us to learn more about your boundaries, to set boundaries for yourself, and get started with your boundaries journey, and to check out each chapter of the book as I write them. So, today, we are talking about what is you in a relationship and what is not you. So, taking responsibility for things that are you and not taking responsibility for the things that are not you and that you honestly have no control over. So, hello, KS. Lovely to see you. Hello, Sabyasachi. Always a pleasure. I am well today. Thank you for asking on this election day. So, as soon as I am done here with this live, I'm going to head out and go to the polls and vote like my life depends on it. So, for those of you who are in the US, I hope that you've either voted or that you will be voting. Whatever it is you choose to vote for, because it's the voting that is important. Okay, so let's talk about what is you in a relationship, because we've talked about things like, the different types of boundaries, and we've talked about covert contracts, right? And you've probably identified more than a few active covert contracts in your relationships right now. And you're probably, if you've been following along through this, really starting to understand that the key to healthy, successful relationships is knowing where you end and others begin, right? Knowing which parts of yourself you can claim and maintain and control for yourself, and which parts of relationships and humans and so on and so forth you have to leave to others. So today we're going to be digging into that a little bit more. And in fact, I've got a cute little thing I'm going to share with you here if I can find it. Here we go, actually. So this represents where the state line of healthy boundaries meets its neighboring district of codependency, right? You can see there. So, for me, for those of you who don't know, after a marriage of emotional abuse and getting sucked into someone else's untreated mental illness and covert contracts from both sides, I tend to be hyper aware of what is me and what is not me in a relationship. Like, as the old saying goes, I know it when I see it, right? Um, but what if you don't yet know it when you see it? That's what we're going to be talking about today, especially if you're just getting started on your boundaries journey. The lands of your heart and your mind may not yet be fully surveyed and drawn out. You may not yet know. And then to set those lines of demarcation for others, right? To map it out, to put it into words, and to create your user guide for another person to follow, that's harder, right? But it has to be done. It is the only way. Because otherwise, you just keep bending and bending and bending, or allowing them to eat away at your borders until there is nothing left, right? Oh, Mandy girl, hi, pleasure to see you again. That's me now healing from emotional abuse. I need to set healthier boundaries. There you go. So I would love if each of you would promise yourself right now that allowing people to nibble away at those boundaries of you is not an option, right? That you're going to set those boundaries, healthy boundaries, and you're going to maintain them. Now, you've let that happen in the past. We've all done it, every single one of us. Several months ago, I did a topic, it's not your fault, right? It is not your fault. You were raised in such a way that you were taught not to maintain your boundaries. In fact, you were probably taught that maintaining your boundaries would lead to a loss of love, right? But you know better now. And moving forward, although it's not your fault, moving forward, it is your responsibility to do better. Because by not setting those good boundaries, you are not only harming yourself, but you're making it impossible for your relationships to thrive and for others to give you what you deserve when you keep crucifying yourself for them. Make sense? KS, what if you never had a relationship in your entire life? Well, then this is the best way to start, right? Understanding your boundaries, setting boundaries, creating boundaries, understanding who you are and who you want to be within those boundaries, and then engaging with people in as healthy a way as possible, for sure. Hi, Cobalt, always pleasure. When you discover a covert contract after feeling disappointed by something, how do you deal with the feels that you suddenly realize aren't their responsibility? It really depends on where I am in the moment. Sometimes I just acknowledge them. I'll say, hey, I thought, for no good reason, because I didn't talk to you about this, I thought that if I did this, that you would do that. And now I'm feeling some sort of way. And I feel really stupid because I didn't even ask you if you were okay with that or if you would trade that with me. Sometimes I just tell myself I'm being kind of silly and I let it go. Sometimes I kind of wallow a little bit by myself and enjoy some time to myself and let it kind of like run out of me eventually. There's a lot of ways of dealing with those feels. Um, and the most important ones to me include not making other people responsible for them, right? Celine says maintaining those boundaries is an ongoing thing. Absolutely. And Crimson Stoner 420. I like that. I generally need to set boundaries and learn to stick with them. I hate conflict and end up not maintaining them every time. I'm fearful of losing people for standing up for myself. And that is exactly what we've been taught, is that if we stand up for ourselves, we're going to lose people from our lives. And I can tell you this, Celine, who I just quoted there, has been through this. And you will lose some people if you start standing up for yourself. However, what you will gain in people who love you for who you are and for what you have to give, and who want you to have amazing, healthy boundaries so that you are as fulfilled and as happy and as healthy as you can be, makes up for it. It doesn't make it any less challenging. It doesn't make it any less frustrating as you're going through it. But knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and some people, you're going to find some people in your life are going to surprise you. You know, there's going to be some people who are going to be like, oh, yes, yay. Look at you doing the things. This is what I've been hoping that you would do for a long time. Yay, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, go, Crimson Stoner 420, right? And then there are going to be people who you thought were going to cheer you on, who you're going to find out aren't really very good friends. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. What I will say is this, though, for me, now I'm 15 years into my journey after leaving my emotionally abusive relationship. I will tell you that with strong boundaries in my life, I have never had more amazing people surrounding me. I've never had more love. I've never had more happiness. I've never had more communication and healthy relationships. I've never had more opportunities than I have after creating my own boundaries and learning to really make those a part of my life. Because here's something that's really important to understand. Boundaries are not just what you say no to. Boundaries are saying no to all of these things that don't matter, so you still have the time and the energy and the resources for the things that really do matter. So by saying no to this person over here who's not a great fit for you, you're making space in your life for this better fit. By saying no to this opportunity that somebody maybe just offered you on, a dating app or whatever, you are saving your time and energy for better opportunities or for deepening the relationships that you have, right? Relationships that will fill you up. So you might be saying, no to this one thing over here and saying yes to this other thing that will provide you with 3 times the energy for more, because this person will fill you up, while as this person will drain you. Does that make sense? It really does make a huge difference. What if you're just not a good fit for anyone? Okay, so that's a valid question. My initial thought is, you're a good fit for someone. But this is a valid question. So part of what we do in the book, and I know you've been going through some of this, Cobalt, and part of what we're doing in the workshop, the Take No Shit workshop, that we've been focusing on right now with like the who are you and that sort of thing, is figuring out the person you want to be, right? So boundaries, if we look at that image, I'm gonna throw that image back up on the screen. If we look at this image, right, and we say, okay, here there be healthy boundaries, and there be the district of codependency, right? If we look at this and we think of our boundaries as demarcating um, a state, right, or a city or a country, right? Then the boundaries not only tell us what we keep out, but they tell us what we keep in, what defines that country. So when we talk about like a country's culture, I was just in Texas. I had barbecue, I had kolaches, I had Viet Cajun, which is very, very much a Houston thing, right? These things are unique in their ways to Texas, right? Went to Houston, went to Austin. So if you feel like maybe you're not a good fit for anyone, maybe you haven't figured out all the fits for yourself yet, right? We have a lot of fear. And it's really important, I think. In fact, I'm gonna pull this up. Too many of us, and I found this on I don't know, Facebook, maybe a screenshot. Too many of us have tried to tone down our weirdness for friends or partners only to later learn that we were suppressing the best things about us. There's no joy like the joy of being your strange self and finding that there are people who love you for it. Think about that. Like if you're toning down who you are to fit with people who aren't a good fit for you, then you're removing the bits of you that people who would love you for who you are really want to see, that are going to attract them, right? If you take away all the color and all the sparkle and all the glitter and all of the magic in order to fit in anywhere, you might find yourself not fitting in, right? So that's what I would suggest is if you are truly finding that you are not feeling like you're a good fit for anyone, then maybe start looking at, well, what makes you a good fit for you? Are you really fitting yourself? Are you really authentically living the full potential of the boundaries on the inside, as well as setting the boundaries on the outside? I think people waste so much time trying to make a relationship work rather than recognizing that this person isn't a good fit for you. I've been guilty of this myself. Hi, my name is Heather. And I have also been guilty of that more than once. Yeah. I fear I'm currently doing just that. So if you fear it, it's probably true. It doesn't mean it's irreparable. It's entirely possible that you had a fit with somebody and both of you have been trying to fit yourselves into what you think this relationship should be instead of being your authentic selves and setting your boundaries and figuring out, for those of you who don't know, this is what I want, this is what you want, this is the sweet spot, right? So figuring out that sweet spot, because I truly believe, I truly, truly, truly believe that what often happens is two people come together and we have this amazing chemistry and this amazing connection. And then we get out our sandpaper and we start sanding the other person down. Oh, if you could just be a little less that and a little more this, and just don't be so much you, right? And so we dampen ourselves and we dampen ourselves and we dampen ourselves, and we end up being two indistinct blobs of gray stuff instead of like these beautiful, sparkly prisms of rainbows that we could mesh on in only some ways, right? Because we're so indoctrinated to the idea that we have to be perfect for each other and fit in every single way, instead of saying, you know what, we're not going to fit in every single way. And these ways don't matter as much, right? But these things that we share, let's work on these together. My wife and I were codependent. Separating made life healthier for our son and allowed us to be good friends again. Beautiful. Beautiful. Boundaries make a huge difference. Huge. I've gotten that a lot. Be yourself. No, not like that. Interestingly, that actually reminds me. So I did write a piece about that. Let me see if I can find that. I can bring that up right now. Let's see. So I had actually written, there we go, that one. Oh gosh, I can't. Okay, I can't find it right now. Anyway, I'd written that whole be yourself. But the problem with being yourself is sometimes your boundaries are so out of whack, you don't know who yourself is, right? And sometimes we've been hurt so much that our self is not such a nice person, right? So figure out, who you want to be as well. So going back to, there are things in a relationship that each person is responsible for. And by that, I don't mean things like taking the trash out to the curb on Wednesday evening, or doing the dishes after dinner, or cleaning the baseboards once a month, right? I mean things that define each of you, that separate you from your partner, and the things that bond you together. Hello, Search Thomas. Lovely to see you. So in my boundaries book, I propose the prime directive for relationships, which is to care for and protect our own hearts and minds, to create our relationships in, remember, that sweet spot, right? So if you understand that your priority is first to care for your own heart and mind, what does that mean for them? What if you accept that in a relationship, your prime directive, your priority, your responsibility is to first care for your own heart and mind? What does that mean? What does that mean for them? Hey, Cosmopolite, always a pleasure. I'm going to give y'all a moment to think about that. What does that mean for them? Super true. I've noticed that people sometimes don't have as strong of interpersonal skills or self-awareness as they think they do. I'm also guilty of this. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ooh, Mandy Girl got it in one. They need to care for their own too. Yeah. Right? So if your priority is first to care for your own heart and mind, that means it's their responsibility to care for theirs as well. Hmm? So when I'm teaching something like this in person, about 80% of the people in the class will pause in shock when I say that. And I can literally see their expression shift into the range of like sheepish to, oh shit. So that means that it's their responsibility to care for their own hearts and minds. So you are not responsible for their hearts and minds. They are. You're responsible for your heart and mind. They are responsible for theirs. Okay, now this may sound really freaking basic. Super basic. Except that when you dig down into it, it's not basic at all because we're taught the exact opposite. You, and we've all said this and we've all had it said to us, you made me fill in the blank. You made me feel bad. Right? That's very basic. So a healthy relationship means that not only will you have amazing, healthy, thriving boundaries, but they will too. And that if you want them to love and encourage you for who you are and to honor and respect your boundaries, you need to do the same thing for others in your life. Now it's getting not so simple and not so easy. Cobalt says, sounds like it could mean a lot less guilt, and simple is not equal to easy. Very, very true. Very, very true. Because some of their boundaries are probably going to feel really uncomfortable to you. Really uncomfortable. I need you to not look over my shoulder when I'm texting my friends. No, I don't feel comfortable putting our relationship up on social media. I'm not ready for you to meet my parents yet. I don't believe in marriage. I really prefer that you don't eat my special pistachios. All of these things, whether this is, something that happens in your relationship or not, all of these things are examples of boundaries that many people would feel slighted by in a relationship, especially in a serious relationship. But you want your partners to give only what they are happy and able to give, right? And to live fully in their own authentic lives. Huh? And to be able to advocate for their own needs and wants in every relationship. I mean, I know you want this for you. But you want it for your partners too, right? let's pause and look at this from the positive side of things. What would it feel like if you knew that your partner was in this happy, amazing, loving relationship with you, and every single bit of it was a choice that they were happy to make? They were not forced into anything, they were not coerced into anything, they were not talked into anything. Every bit of it was a joyous collaboration of both of you. Hmm? Cobalt says, we seem to have a culture that views respecting boundaries as weak or sheepish. Yes. It also, though, we have a culture that views boundaries in relationships as being problematic, right? Like the whole we are one. How many people have heard that? How many people have said that? How many people have believed that? We are one, two become one. Oof. But that's the opposite of having autonomous human beings choosing your relationship, right? KS asks, could it be that some boundaries are unreasonable? My knee-jerk reaction is to say anyone who sets a boundary. Now, again, this is a boundary versus like a rule or a dictation, a law for somebody else. Anyone can set a boundary, and that is their right. However, I'm curious, what type of boundary might you feel is unreasonable? Let's talk about that. And if any of you in the chat have a thought about like what kind of boundary is unreasonable, let's talk about that, because I think that that's a really important question. And it might be something that we need to definitely dig deeper into in a whole talk, right? Roger says, I agree you're responsible, but if you can't bring yourself to care about others as well, do you really have a relationship? So, Roger, I find that curious. Why would you go from, I agree that you're responsible for your own heart and mind, to not caring about others? That feels really extreme. So, again, that's something that I think needs to be dug into. Also, it seems to me that if somebody's not caring about me in a relationship, I'm not going to be in a relationship with them, right? Like it seems very simple to me. If I don't feel somebody cares about me, I can nope out of that relationship pretty effectively, right? That's, to me, that's what being autonomous adults is all about. I'm not stuck in that relationship. In fact, if I stay in a relationship, it's because I want to be there. Cobalt says, defining love as, oops, saw that blip there. If you really loved me, then, right? That's manipulative, isn't it? It's a good way to get around boundaries. Cosmopolite, I think society conveys to people that we're supposed to sacrifice our boundaries and authenticity in order to be loved. 100%. Absolutely. Okay. Let's hide that one. Okay. So KS said, I meant rule. So boundaries are, this is who I am. This is what I allow in my life. Rules are, you can't do this. rules can absolutely be unreasonable. In fact, I would generally say that unless two people collaborate on creating a rule for themselves, it's absolutely unreasonable. Um, so, for example, in kink, let's talk about in kink. There are a lot of rules, often in relationships, that include power exchange dynamics, right? Um, who, does the flogging or the whipping or the paddling or the spanking or whatever, and the submissive is the one who takes it. But that's actually not quite true. That would be the top is the one who does all that stuff, and the bottom is the one who takes it. In the terms of power exchange, a dominant is the person who leads the relationship, and the submissive is the one who follows. The submissive gives power to the dominant in exchange for the dominant's responsibility. So let's talk about rules. In some power exchange relationships, there are a lot of rules. The dominant says to the submissive, here are your rules, right? Now, in a case of a power exchange relationship, rules are kind of to be expected. They still also need to be consensual. And in the case of uh, rules, for example, even in my power exchange relationship, any rules that we have are simply discussed boundaries. So, for example, my partner might enjoy playing with other people. He and I have discussed what that would look like ideally for both of us. We have discussed what agreements we might put around that. And then he has his own boundaries and or rules that we agreed to and collaborated on together, right? So from my perspective, it's very easy. Somebody says, hey, can I play with your partner? And I say, go ask him. He knows the rules. He knows his boundaries. Simple, right? Now, were I to, as Mandy Girl says, were I to unilaterally put something on him, even in a power exchange relationship that does not suit who he is as a person, ultimately, that power exchange relationship is not going to be healthy. It is going to falter and it's not going to work, right? Sir Thomas says, as a dominant, it's part of the relationship and responsibility of, I would add, happy and fulfilled, right? Because we're not always going to be happy. Sometimes I have to do the dishes and that doesn't make me happy, but I'm going to be fulfilled. My needs in that relationship are going to be fulfilled, right? So let's take a deep breath, right? I there was a piece that was, I saw it like floating around the internet. I think it was the polyphilia blog that said something like, you know, polyamory is not just doing whatever you want in a relationship. And hello, Birdie. And I posited that all relationships, ultimately good relationships, should be entirely built on the foundation of doing what you want. You doing what you want, them doing what they want, and that's where the relationship is strongest. Oof, I got a lot of flack for that. People are commenting on the kitty. That's Birdie. She's got opinions. As you can see, she's right here right now. You're not paying attention. You want your partners to be happy and fulfilled, right? And you want them to have healthy boundaries. Also, right. Because you are an awesome, loving person. You don't want to control people, and you don't want to be controlled, right? For you both, or if you're in non-monogamous relationships, or you all, right? And so what that means is staying in your lane and creating and maintaining excellent boundaries for yourself and honoring theirs. So I have a graphic I would like to share with you. Yes, another one. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, there we go. There you go. So that's kind of funny. Hi, everyone. Look at me. What is you? What is not you? Right? Doing things you think will make them happy and healthy and feel do. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to just walk you through it. Validating your partner. This is something that you want to do for your partner, right? You want to get from our partners, right? Their financial success is not you. Communicating your needs, that's you, right? Their mental health, that's not you. Making decisions for their own good, not you. You don't get to make decisions for another adult's own good, right? If you are following healthy boundaries. Planning for your future is you. Being a human of your word, that is you. Ensuring that your partner has a happy life, it's not you. That's you. Fixing their mistakes or solving their problems, that's you. What about excusing their behavior to family and friends? Nope, not you, right? Leading by example, especially when it comes to good boundaries, that can totally be you, right? You see where I'm coming from here? Cobalt says, My bestie went camping this past weekend. I was so glad I stayed home because camping is so not me. There you go. I like camping. And yet sometimes I like staying home too. So there you go. Right. So, so I had to excuse behaviors often. Except, here's the thing. Let's rephrase that. You didn't have to excuse. Ah, ha, ha. There you go. You corrected yourself even before I got to it. You felt you had to at the time. Yeah, but you don't. You don't have to excuse their behaviors. They're adults, right? I think sometimes when we excuse the behaviors of others, justify those behaviors to ourselves as much as we're trying to do that to family or friends or whatever. Any one of those items on the list can come back and bite you depending on the relationship. I'm curious what you mean by that. I'm not disagreeing with you. But I'd love an example of something like that because I think that, that would be a really interesting thing to kind of dig down into. So if you're currently partnered, it could be interesting and useful to go through and both like talk about those things, that list that I just went through, and talk about those and compare and discuss your answers. Right? What do you both agree on what you should be doing for each other? Do you both agree that it is not your responsibility to make the other person happy or to make decisions for their good or whatever it is? Some do as I say, don't do as I do. Well, I mean, sure. Do as I say because I'm an adult and I can do these things, not as I do because you're a child and you're not yet allowed to do these things. That's reasonable, right? Or driving. If you have a teenager who hasn't yet really learned how to control a car, then driving at 75 miles per hour is probably not the best thing, right? So there's reasons for these things. However, when we get into hypocrisy and we get into things like that, the issue is, and this is what it comes down to, don't are you allowing this? Is this okay with you? Right? Because you get to choose your boundaries and how you allow people to engage with you in relationships. Boundaries are what you're willing to put up with from other people. So if they're saying, do as I say, don't do as I do, and you haven't agreed to doing as they say, then it's on you to set and maintain that healthy boundary and potentially remove yourself from that relationship. Make sense? Okay, so do we have any additional questions from today about what is you in a relationship, what is not you in a relationship? So Thursday, where are we here? Thursday, I will be talking about, what will I be talking about on Thursday? Non-compromisables. So we're going to be talking about what we are unwilling to compromise on in our relationships. Yeah. Deborah, so the replay, the live replay is posted on YouTube. So you'll be able to see that. It'll stay up for and we put them up in our private members area. So you can see what you did miss, and you can also see several of the back replays up until we go through and we take a bunch down and put them into our library, our boundaries library. So yeah. And again, for those of you who are interested, link in the chat right here. This is the link to join the Take No Shit workshop, which is going on right now. It's ongoing. And you will also get access to the Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck, working title, book that I'm writing chapter by chapter. So you can get in there and start really digging down into the boundary work and setting boundaries for yourself. And the Take No Shit workshop will walk you through step by step, setting those healthy boundaries, enforcing them, and determining what's important for you. So if you know you need to set better boundaries and you're the type of person who works best with accountability and a support system, you're going to want to join this workshop. It's a seven-week workshop. It's actually at your own pace. And it is a whopping $27, so a max $4 per week. But right now, for a little bit longer, it is at a choose your own price. So you could actually get it for as little as $7. That's $1 per week right now while we're in the beta testing of this workshop. But here's the thing. I guarantee, if you feel like you need to set better boundaries and you want accountability and a support system, this workshop will change your life. It will give you what you need to build healthy, loving relationships, reduce drama and conflict, and live your most authentic life, love, whatever. Mandy girl, that's very sweet of you. Yay. If you're not sure if you're ready, if you're not 100% sure that you are a good fit for Take No Shit right now, I understand. Like, we all have to take the steps when we're ready to take them. But you being here and you coming this far in this conversation tells me that you are ready and you are a good fit. And I hope that you will join us, because there will never, ever be a better time or a better offer. So there's that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Like I said, Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So on Tuesdays, I go in at noon. And on Thursdays, I come in at 2. So what is toxic anyway? And then on the Thursday after that, the 17th, you used to be so nice. Oh, the guilt, right? KS says, Heather, you break things down in a unique way. Thank you. I do my best. So thank you all for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, ask me questions, and join the workshop. It's not going to cost you much. It is a great thing to be working on, especially as we head into the new year. New year, new you. Get a jump start on that. And yeah, have a wonderful day, y'all.